Alright, so this is the first blue/intermediate session of the day. 4 sessions in each run group. So we're doing lead and follow here. So my students are behind me, and I believe at that point in time I had a BMW M4 as well as a C5 Corvette that was somewhat modified that were behind me. In front of me, I believe there's a Honda Civic Type R instructor with M2 competition following him. So we're going to warm up here, and I want to make sure that my students are, first of all, we're all getting in groups. So you can see ahead of us, they're following closely. My students are following closely, but you see I say hi to all the corner stations, all the corner workers. I want my students to know where all the stations are, so they can start to be aware of flags without me having to show them the flags and notice the flags for them. But we're still following the race line. We still want to show them the correct line and warm up the tires if we need to a little bit. It's still in the morning, so the track is not too hot. The temperatures were in the 60s. So we just do our first warm-up lap. Corner station up on the right here, and after this pretty sharp right-hander, there's going to be another corner station on the right. But we had done this all weekend, so they started to know where the corner stations were. If you're wondering what I'm doing here, pressing buttons and going to my screen and all that, I was actually just pulling up my tire pressure and my tire temps. I just wanted to make sure my pressures and temps weren't going too high. To be honest, my tires were completely shot anyway, so I didn't worry about it all that much, but I just like to have the display pulled up when I drive. So as you notice here, we are catching up to some traffic. So the group in front of us caught up to some traffic, so we caught up to them. So they passed as a group, the Civic Type R and the M2 competition. And now I'm trying to set us up with my students to all pass together, so that we can also remain in a group and pretty smoothly all pass together. So right here I'm showing this guy, where we're clearly faster, and we're going to want to take the pass, and he goes right ahead, gives us the pass, and we all get through. And it looks like now the group in front of us has caught up to another group, so that's going to be another group we're going to need to get in front of. But it'll probably take a lap or so before we can have a good straightaway. We're going to just be patient. We're going to drive our line. If we catch up to traffic, we'll just focus on our line, even though we'll have to drive slightly slower. To be honest, the 2 students I had were pretty fast. So we had decent pace going around the racetrack, so we did tend to catch up other groups. So the M2 in front of me right now, his instructor was able to pass on the straightaway, but he did not get given a pass. The passee controls the pass in such an event, and so he did not get a pass. He wasn't able to pass before the end of the straightaway. In the blue intermediate group, we're only able to pass on all the straightaways. So unfortunately he had to be patient, wasn't going to be able to get a pass. Now he could have gotten a pass on this straight, but he did not get one, so he has to stay behind and just be patient until the passee can safely control the pass. And that's what he's doing. Now I'm sure he's hoping he'll get a pass on this straight away around the F-type. And yes, the F-type is giving us all a pass, so he's taking it, I'm taking it, I'm trying to pass very quickly because I wanted to give enough time to my students to pass as well. Fortunately it was an offline pass, so the passee moved offline and gave us the race line, so my students were able to attack the corner 10 in the usual position on the track that they would, so they, it didn't get too anxious for them, that they had to completely run a new line suddenly coming in the inside or anything like that. So that did make the pass a little bit easier for us, even though for my last student it was a little bit of a late pass. We've now caught up with a Z3M Coupe. That's an instructor. He, I believe, was coaching the F-type. However, by Sunday it became a free-for-all. You did not have to specifically follow the instructors, so I think the instructor decided to drive a little bit faster, and eventually we still caught up to him. So I think he decided to just let the M2 competition by, and then let my group by, and then probably just slow down and regroup with the F-type. But he did not have to stick with the F-type together really closely all of the time. In fact, they could have gone their separate ways if they wanted to. The F-type could have passed him, and he could have followed the F-type instead of staying in front. And the F-type could have left and driven by themselves, found a different instructor to follow. It was opened up on Sunday, so you had the freedom to do that. So anyway, we passed the M2 competition, and now I need my students to pass as well. And they're doing that. Unfortunately, we cannot see, I don't have a rear view. But quickly we caught up to traffic again. Like I said, we had a pretty fast group. So see in front of me, that's an instructor in a Mustang following a Chevy SS student. So he's following. He probably showed him the trajectory, the race line for like 3 laps or so, and then decided to drop back and then follow him so he could see from behind him how he was doing by himself. And so it's interesting to be in front, to be following. It's also interesting to be inside of the car, but unfortunately with COVID we're not able to do that at the moment. So anyway, quickly the instructor gives us the pass, but we did not get the pass from the Chevy SS, and that's because if the instructor was in front, he would have instructed the student to give the pass, but the student did not realize that the instructor was going to give us a pass because he was behind him. So, but you can see he's way offline now, and he really probably needs to regroup with an instructor. Let us by so he doesn't feel the pressure anymore and can focus on his driving. And I believe he's going to let us by after turn 10 here on the front straight. Yeah, you can tell he's probably looking in his mirrors a little bit too much. So, students, just FYI, do not do that. Just focus on what's in front of you. If there's someone behind you, wait for a straightaway to let them by, but don't let them be in your head. Just focus on your own driving, because it's just going to get worse if you focus on what's behind you. Focus on your driving, you'll drive smoother, faster, and then it'll be, the people behind you will get less impatient, and it'll just be better flow, and you won't make a silly mistake or anything like that. But anyway, we finally have an open track, so now I'm just going to be driving. My students are following me, so you can get to see the race line from now on, from my point of view. This is a good example of when I was talking about traction control. Keep traction control on unless you feel like you can catch the car just like that. So here I'm pointing out the window, and that's because I want my student to really focus on the line there. Every time he was coming a little bit too wide, and I wanted him to really, this is the sign that we're doing with lead and follow, to say, watch my line carefully and follow my line, put your car here. So that's what I was doing there, if you're wondering. My student and I, we've been driving pretty well. We remember we had passed that M2 competition, but here he is. So I pulled offline so that he could pass me a little bit more easily here, and yeah, the M2 competition was able to follow my student pretty well. They actually worked out to be a very good group, the two of them together. So I actually went and found the guy in the M2 competition and asked him to join my group for the rest of the weekend, so that we could have a level playing field, all running together and nobody weighing anybody down, nobody going too fast and leaving anybody behind. It worked out really well.